Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and the topic we'll be looking at tonight is designing future-ready talent, HR's role in upskilling and workforce planning. Our facilitator for tonight is one of the HR Mentorship core team members, and she's a regular facilitator on the platform. Her name is Irene Obagu, and I would like very briefly her profile. Irene is a HR professional with over 12 years of cross-sectional experience spanning oil and gas technology, all right, construction, asset management, and so on and so forth. She has a background in guidance and counseling and a master's in personnel psychology. She brings a people-centered and strategic approach to people management. Our focus areas include organizational development, workplace wellness, and helping business align people strategies with performance goals. She also mentors HR professionals and support business leaders in creating high-performing work environments. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us on the topic, designing future-ready talent, HR's role in upskilling workforce planning. Let's welcome Irene Obago.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Trust we have had a good weekend. And it's Sunday, and I hope we're ready for the beginning of the week. As Doctor has said, I'm only here to, the practice of us learning and relearning. So I'm only here to moderate this session because we're both here together to learn. We want to learn, unlearn, cross-learn, and see how we can move the profession further. And so I will not waste time. Once again, I'm very happy to be doing this. It's one of the things I look forward to doing. And we'll be looking at designing future-ready talent, HR's role in upskilling and workforce planning. Because the reality is, the current state we have to be future-ready, because we thought the future of work was far, but all thanks to COVID, the pandemic did us baptism by fire, and the future of work came. And before you know it, we almost don't have time to even talk about the future of work, because before we're finishing with one future of work trend that we think we're looking at, another thing is already staring us in the face, So we're going to be looking at those things, the trends, and how we can always position for the future of work, because the future keeps evolving. When we are talking about Internet of Things, we're talking about AI, we don't know what we're going to be talking about before we even finish talking about AI, So it's very important that I believe the topic is timely, and I believe it's what we should look at and see how we can plan our talent and how HR can make the workforce better and position for leadership. Okay, so that said, I'll be moving forward. The slide is not moving 1 minute. Okay, so briefly, our outline for today is understanding the future of work, HR's strategic role in workforce planning, upskilling and reskilling frameworks, data-driven approaches, case studies, research, and insights, then actionable steps. Because at the end of the day, if we get to understand the future of work and we get to understand our strategic roles, we also need to know how to take these actions and, of course, share ideas and concepts. So the future of work, like I did say, we used to think the future of work was far, but before we knew it, all thanks to COVID, the future of work was brought to us. So a few researches have shown that while it is very important for us to talk about future of work, I have had to look at some researches that have been conducted over the years, and what I was able to gather is 85 million jobs may be displaced by automation by 2025. That's why there's this fear that AI is going to take over our job. We will get to that part. 95 million new roles will emerge adapted to future tech. We are saying in one of the future of work is that automation is going to displace some jobs. And we are now saying if 85 million jobs will be displaced, are you seeing the twist? There's 95 million more that would emerge. So what must we do? We must align workforce with digital, AI, and remote trends. So that's why it is, like I said, this is a timely one because there's a whole lot of topic going on around AI replacing people's job and somewhat. So like my practice, I like to be sure that we're together. And I'm going to be looking in the chat box. From what I have just said, because we're talking about the future evolving, I want to know, is there anyone on the call tonight that has had to learn a new skill recently? I'm looking at the chat, but is there anyone on the call tonight that has had to learn a new skill recently? Now, this is for us to be sure that we're here together. I'm not just talking to myself. I like to be interactive when I do this. Or even if you have not had to learn a new skill recently, is there anyone on the call that is thinking of learning a new skill? Like as at now? Do you want to share? I'm actually looking at the chat box. Hello, I like to be sure that I'm being heard. Ayila Bowale, good evening. I'm still waiting. Are we saying that? Wow. Okay, so I was saying, is there anyone on the call tonight that has had to learn a new skill or planning to learn a new skill? Because we're talking about the future of work. Have you had any reason to learn a new skill? Or have you had any concern to think, oh, you need to learn a new skill? Because we're looking at the way things are evolving and, you know, we... Doctor said he's learning new skill on the go. Yes, Amma said, yes, Amma Kwajafa, I hope I got that, said ChatGPT. Men, everybody should be learning ChatGPT. At least at the basic. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, because I wanted to be sure that we're having a conversation. So we'll keep the conversation going as we proceed. It's only two people that has had a reason to learn something. Dr. learns on the go. Oh, Agboke Kingsley says they learn every day, especially at work. Yes, that's very important. It's very, very important. We must keep learning on the job. Sorry. What's happening? Sure, work. Like researchers have shown that some jobs are going to be displaced, some jobs are going to be created, you know. Eh, So we're now looking at understanding the future of work, because if we don't understand the future of work, we might not be able to fit in, or might not be able to pilot our organizations or our workforce to be ready for the future of work. Because it is those that are ready for the future of work that are going to take over the business. So the landscape of work, like I did mention, is rapidly changing. You know, there's new technology coming up. A whole lot of things are driven by technological advancement. And you know, the society is shifting expectations. You know, so in this presentation, we're going to be looking at 9 trends that are shaping the future of work. The trends that are continuously, constantly redefining the future of work. And we need to be ready to embrace these trends, because it is by embracing these trends that we have the opportunity to enhance productivity, foster innovation, and build resilience, inclusive cultures that thrive in a competitive global landscape. Because the truth of the matter is, the global landscape is becoming more and more competitive. So when you think you have conquered one ground, you have another ground to conquer. When you think, oh, you have this goal to achieve, the next goal to achieve is already behind the one goal you're trying to achieve. So we have to, it's more like we continuously have to be on our toes, because the rapid technological advancements are evolving workforce dynamics. You know, a whole lot of things are changing, and organizations are constantly redefining how they operate. You know, the question is, are you ready to navigate these transformative trends and seize the new opportunities? So that's why we are here tonight. That's why we want to understand, where is the future of work going? Or at the barest minimum, what are the things we should be looking out for in the future of work? So the key future of work trends that I did mention are, you know, the things that we hear about, we worry about, we fear might displace us as human beings. You know, the future of work trends include integration of AI and automation, a focus on employee well-being and engagement, the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We cannot emphasize that enough. There's a whole lot of identities, a whole lot of people claiming who they are or who they want to be, how they want to be addressed by, and all that. Those are things that, well, even if we're looking at our cultural landscape, we also have to look at what is happening at the global landscape, because at the end of the day, even if we're local, we're thinking of going global somehow, someday, you know. So we are going to be looking at this trend. Another one that we need to pay key attention to is the rise of gig economy, the rise of gig works and alternative employment models. I am very sure each one of us, at least I can say 95% of employees have a side hustle. You know, we all, it is a reality that is staring us in the face. The gig economy, we need to pay attention to that. That is a trend in the future of work. Organizations are beginning to prioritize the development of a future-ready workforce by addressing expertise gap and leveraging employee activism to drive positive change, because there is this expertise gap. When you think, oh, this is the expertise you need, and you have brought somebody on board, before you know it, that expertise, with the way technology is advancing and the way everything is going, you're looking for the next expertise, either to complement that or to make that deliver, you know. So it's continuously evolving. So by understanding and adapting to this trend, businesses can now position themselves for success in a rapidly evolving landscape. Because the truth of the matter is, the work landscape is rapidly evolving. It's more like, the more we are chasing it, the more it is running. Like, we have to quadruple our speed. You know, when you think, oh, this is what's trending, before you finish lashing on it, there's another thing trending. So we are constantly on our toes. And now here's a call to action: shaping the future of workforce. Like I said, that's why we are here. That's why we are having this call to action. You know, from, if we look at how things have been going, I'm also going to ask again. This is for us to have a conversation. What skill do you think cannot be old-fashioned? Like, as you are, is there any skill? If you look at the skills that we look out for in people, the skills that we look out for in workplaces, the skill, like, okay, when you're interviewing people or you're doing your job descriptions or job evaluations, you think, oh, this skill is needed. As a person or even as an HR professional, is there any skill you think cannot be old-fashioned? Again, I'm looking in my chat box. Like I said, we're going to be having a conversation. I'm only moderating. So is there anyone that wants to share? Is there any skill you think cannot be old-fashioned? Like, this skill, whether you like it or not, no matter how technology is evolving, no matter how the work landscape is changing, is there any skill that you think cannot be old-fashioned? Excel proficiency, fantastic. talk about all the Power BI, all the SQL. Excel cannot be old-fashioned. Problem-solving skills, Olusegun. Yes, thank you. Because there's always a problem. In fact, the reason why businesses exist is to solve a problem. If there's no problem to be solved, we will not have a job, you know. So those are skills that whether we like it or not, they cannot be old-fashioned. Okay, so I'm going somewhere because the whole idea is for us to look at, okay, is the trends in workplace really displacing or creating opportunities? The whole idea is to open our eyes to the opportunities that exist, even though there's this fear that the way the work landscape is going, the way the global technology is taking over the whole world, there are still skills that if the world goes up and down, it cannot be old-fashioned. Yes, Zoom meetings because everything is going online. Critical thinking, thank you, Stella. Because if you can, even if uh you know so much and you cannot think critically, even if AI is doing the job, sometimes you have to think for the AI. So critical thinking is very, 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 very important. Organizational skills, those are skills that no matter what is changing. Oops, emotional intelligence. In fact, this should be a topic for another day because this is something that it cannot be old-fashioned, right? But we are allowing trends to gradually remove the humanness from the things that we do. That's topic for another day. But emotional intelligence can never be old-fashioned. Thank you, Olamide. Thank you. Okay, so moving forward, emotional intelligence we have agreed cannot be old-fashioned. So that is what we're going to be looking at. So some of these skills that cannot be old-fashioned are what we need to shape the future of the workforce. So we're going to be looking at those things that we need to do to shape the future of workforce. So the future isn't some distant horizon. Like I said, all thanks to COVID, it was baptism by fire. It brought the future of work to us like now. So the future of work is when we're talking about future of work, we're not talking about any distant time. We're talking about we can wake up tomorrow and we see that there's a new trend happening. We can wake up tomorrow and we see that even this AI we're all shouting about is outdated. Organizations that embrace innovation and forward-thinking workforce strategies, they will proactively position themselves as the leaders of tomorrow. Because, like we rightly said, critical thinking, organizational skills, emotional intelligence. If we are not being innovative, critical thinking helps us to be innovative. Critical thinking helps us to be forward thinking, because if we're not forward thinking, how do we know that, we should be looking at what is wrong with our workforce, But like we did mention, that was why I asked the skills that cannot be old-fashioned. Those skills will help us to they help us to be proactive rather than reactive, So we're here today to know that let's not be left out. It's time to seize the opportunity and empower our teams for growth, resilience, and impact that future proves our operations, ensuring that our talent strategies align seamlessly with business objectives. It is when we are positioned, when we are ready to take action, that we know that we have to position our workforce for, it helps in our talent strategy. It helps us to align our talent strategy with business objectives. So there's a balance. The people, like I always say, business strategies will only exist except executed by people. And we are the one planning the talent. We are the one that are the owners of the talent strategy. So if we don't learn to, shape the future of work to align seamlessly with business objectives, we might see ourselves in the 1990s when the world is in 2025, and beyond. So that is very important as well. So again, why we need to shape the future of workforce is to create a strategy that accelerates growth, adaptability, and empowers the workforce to thrive. Because when our people thrive, then we are fulfilled as professionals. One, we are fulfilled in our role, because at the end of the day, I always tell people, whether we like it or not, whether you're HR manager, you are a team lead of people and culture, whatever nomenclature your role is, the reality is we are HR people and we are business partners, because we are managing the most critical, like I always say, aspect of every business, the people. Because if the people do not execute the strategies, there's nothing to be done. Yes, the business owners, founders, they have this vision, they have this strategy, but at the end of the day, they would be executed by people. So we must be ready to look for what is trending and how we can use it to empower our workforce to thrive, you know. So that is very important. So we have looked at the future of work. We have looked at how some jobs will be displaced while some other roles will be created. But how do we fit in this picture? Why are we the one looking at the future of work? Everybody should be looking at it, agreed. But it is more of our concern, because it's more like it's in our hands to pilot, you know. So how do we fit in this big picture? McKinsey has recently conducted a research on how businesses can best organize for the future. So in their experiment, they suggest that future-ready companies share 3 characteristics. They know who they are and what they stand for. They operate with a fixation on speed and simplicity, and they grow by scaling up their ability to learn and innovate. So when I was reading up for this and trying to, get to understand, this was particularly very interesting for me, because the truth of the matter is these characteristics are not what we can sweep under the carpet. There are things that we need to look at as a business, or as somebody that is the pilot now, because we're like the pilots in an airplane. The destination that the business is going, we're driving it. So for us to be able to drive it properly and drive it better, we must know who we are and what we stand for as an organization. You know, we must operate on speed and simplicity. Yes, speed in the sense that we must go with the speed of time, we must go as things are going, but not in ambiguity, because by the time we want to go with speed and it's ambiguous, at the end of the day, we'll be slowed down. It's more like we're carrying too much load that'll be pulling us back, So that for me stood out. And of course, we must grow by scaling up ability to learn and innovate, because the truth of the matter is the world is evolving. We must have the ability to learn and innovate, because it's one thing to learn, it's another thing to be innovative with what we have learned. We can learn something and it becomes useless to us. But the ability to learn and innovate, they fuse together, because if we learn, then our mind is open and we're able to be innovative and, create solutions to problems. So how do we fit in the big picture? HR can propel this transformation by facilitating positive change where labor becomes talent. Now, this is also my favorite. We have moved past the era of labor. We're talking about talent. We have moved past the era of, years of experience, hierarchy and all that. We're looking at what can this person deliver? Can this person achieve the result? Hierarchies have become networks of teams. So instead of you having hierarchies, you can now have network of teams. Competitors have become our ecosystem and collaborators. Yes, we understand that competitors here can be threats, but we are now in a situation where we can now look at our competitors, because we cannot remove ourselves from the ecosystem. So we must learn that we must learn collaboration. Like collaboration is a currency we must learn to spend as HR. So you want to know, yes, what's happening in your industry? How can we collaborate? How can we do this together to achieve results? And again, we have to make companies more human. So that took me back to emotional intelligence. I was saying the way things are going, it's easy to remove humans. It's easy for us to just start behaving robotic like we're robots. But it is also important for us to realize that we must pay attention to making our organizations more human. We should inspire collaboration, and we should be bent on creating employee experience that is meaningful and enjoyable. So the ball is with us. Like, we must really, really be on our toes as HR people. This is not the time for us to be chasing labor policy and procedure, discipline. Back in the days where they use us as police to police employees. Those days where you are the one to police when somebody has come in late and when you rule the books. Oh my goodness. When we draw rulers against those that have come late and those that have not come late, we have moved past those things. We have a lot on our plate. We have a lot on our plate. So I'm going to be breaking down the three steps that how we fit in. First, we must know that we must know who we are and we must know what we stand for. So future ready organizations have a strong sense of identity and purpose. For us to be future ready, we must know where we are going. Like I always like to say, I must know my bus stop and I must know the next bus stop I'm going to, because if I don't know where I am going to, I won't even know the place to start from. I won't even know the bus to enter. I'm going to enter bus, and if I am driving, I won't even know the direction to face. So we must have a strong sense of identity and purpose. Define our missions, values, and long-term visions clearly. We must guide our decision making at every level. The clarity not only aligns with employee, but it builds trust and with customers, partners, and stakeholders. When we know where we are going, and there's this clarity, there's this clear vision. We have our mission. We know where we are going. We are not distracted. It also helps those who are relating with us, those that are working with us, because we are dealing with stakeholders, management, employees. Everybody is a stakeholder, even our customers. We're able to pilot them better. We're able to create solutions that solve problems. We're able to meet people at their very expectation or expected means. So when people know why the organization exists, it creates direction and resilience, especially in times of change. If your vision is clear, everybody knows that this is the direction we're going. Even when there is going to be change, people understand that, okay, this change is for us to get to the destination that we are going, basically. Two, they operate with fixation on speed and simplicity. In today's fast-changing environment, complexity slows organization. Like I said, our innovations should be simple. It should be simplified, not ambiguous, because at the end of the day, when the things we think we're innovating or the things we think we're bringing on board are ambiguous, it sort of feels like we have a heavy load pressing on us and we can't even move forward at the end of the day. So future-ready companies steer away bureaucracy and unnecessary layers so they can act quickly, because sometimes we have some bureaucracy in our organizations that sort of stalls progress, that sort of stalls decision making. And that is not good for the future of work, the speed at which things are going. So we must create a system where there's really no bureaucracy and not unnecessary layers of protocols and all that, so that we can act quickly. We must be agile, embrace agility, agile ways of thinking. We empower decision making at the right levels. We understand that decision makings, of course, has to have level, but there are some decision makings that we also need to empower at the right level. We must look at our workforce and see sort of decision-making matrix, you know, where at some level you should be able to take a decision, not that you're waiting for management to take decision and all that. We must be agile, like very agile, you know. The focus on speed and simplicity allows us to respond faster to market change, customer needs, and emerging opportunities. Imagine if an opportunity comes up and somebody is not empowered to take decision, and this opportunity is going to better the organization or better operations. If we have bureaucracies or bottlenecks, we might lose the opportunity, because the rate at which the world is going now is opportunities must meet preparedness. So the people might be prepared, but we have a system in place that does not empower them to take decisions. I know. And so that sort of makes us lose opportunity or stalls progress, you know. So the third one is growing by scaling the ability to learn and innovate, like I did mention before. Again, one of the characteristics of a future-ready organization is to see learning and innovation as a continuous practice. It's not like, okay, L&D people have created this learning calendar. We must learn between this time and that's it. No, learning on the go, continuous learning, you know, is not, learning should not be a one-off project. As HR people, we must build cultures that encourage experimentation, knowledge sharing, and adaptability. By scaling learning through digital tools, cross-functional collaboration, and leadership development, we can unlock innovation across the whole business, not just in specialized things. So I'll share something I once did in one of my lives, in one of the organizations I worked for. Okay, so it was a cloud computing firm, and cloud computing was new at that time. We were like the Azure in Nigeria. So each time things keep evolving. We have our training calendar, right? We have courses that we have put out there that are mandatory for our server administrators, our NOC guys, you know, to go through. But we discovered that those learnings were not enough. Like, these guys have to learn on a daily. So imagine if as HR that said, where there's a learning calendar, okay, we need this skill to be filled, we'll do it later. No, these guys were empowered to learn. So they learn new things, they come, they tell you, oh, this is a new thing that is happening. There's a test environment where they can test their ideas, where they have learned. That is encouraging experimentation. Then there's a knowledge sharing group. So we created one day in a week, Thursdays, everybody comes together, you know, share ideas, WhatsApp group. The thing is, knowledge sharing has to be continuous, and adaptability, of course, is key. If we learn, we must be able to adapt the new things. Just like I know some people are yet to adapt to AI, but we will get there, you know. So when we scale learning through digital tools, cross-functional collaborations, we're empowering our people we're building a culture of continuous learning, you know. It makes us more competitive and sustainable in the long run. So if there's any new thing, because we are constantly learning, because we have created a situation where our teams are constantly learning. Nothing seems new here. They have an idea that this new thing has come up, and then they are able to, you know, scale fast. So strategic workforce planning, because we're basically have been looking at how work is changing. But basically, I've been looking at the future of work, the things that are happening, the things that we are scared of, you know. So if we know that these things exist, the whole idea is for us to be able to plan our workforce. So in getting ready for the future, how the future is changing, the uncertainties, you know, the buckiness of the whole workplace, we have to be strategic about our workforce planning. So how do we become strategic about our workforce planning? The strategic workforce, yes, it's easy to just say strategic workforce when we are talking, oh, strategic workforce planning. It's not a buzzword. It must be mission critical. Like, is a mission. It's not low, you just say it in passing. No. Because of the rapid advancements, the way technology is reshaping the entire industries and everything is shifting, society values are redefining employee expectations, organizations are turning towards a more proactive, human-centric approach. We have to be strategic in our workforce. So why does this go beyond talent management? That's because it involves constructing a workforce that is resilient and prepared for the future. Our strategic workforces, we must realize that we're not just talking about talent management. We're talking about preparing our people, our organization to survive, to be resilient, and be prepared for the future. Whatever happens, our organization must be prepared to fit into the future, no matter what the future brings. So what is our role? Because now we have realized that, okay, strategic workforce planning is not just a buzzword. It's something that is mission critical. It's something we must be intentional about. We must be deliberate about it. Like, it's not just us managing talent, from attraction to offboarding. That's not what it is. It is about us being on a mission, So what is our role in workforce planning? 4 things. Our role in workforce planning is to align workforce with business strategy. Our role is to forecast skill gaps using analytics. Our role is to build agile talent pipelines. And our role is to foster culture of continuous learning. Continuous learning cannot be overemphasized. It cannot be overemphasized because there is something to learn at every minute of our life. That's why I was asking, is there anybody that learned a new skill recently? Or is there any skill that we think cannot be old-fashioned? And like we've rightly said, some skills cannot be old-fashioned. There is no way the world is going to change. There is no technology advancement that is going to come that is going to remove critical thinking or make critical thinking old-fashioned. Again, I've been talking. Again, let's see and be sure that we're here together. I'm not just talking alone. I would like to ask, are you ready to take on these challenges? Like, who on the call tonight is beginning to, or has even started taking on the challenges of positioning for the future of work? Again, I'm looking at my chart. Okay, so I missed some responses here. People and social skills, empathy here. That's true. So are we ready, or do we think we're ready, to face this, to navigate these challenges? Is there anybody that feels ready to navigate these challenges that we're talking about? Okay. I've not gotten a response yet. Let's move forward because tomorrow is Monday. Okay, so when we're talking about aligning workforce with business strategy, so like I mentioned, it's not enough for us to do talent management from attraction up to offboarding, that's exit. It is the 4 things that we need to start looking at or that we need to be intentional about. One is aligning our workforce with business strategy. We must ensure that talent priorities directly support organizational goals. So when we are doing our talent planning, when we are planning our workforce, we must plan in such a way that the workforce we are planning, the workforce we are creating, our plans must, at the end of the day, support organizational goals. This means that We must understand where our business is headed and shaping the workforce to deliver on that mission. When I started, I said business owners, they have their business ideas. There's this strategy in their head. But we are the one championing the people that deliver on this strategy. Anybody that knows me will know that I always say HR people, we are business partners. Whether they call you HRBP, they call you whatever name they want to call you, you are a business partner. Because the people that will deliver on the vision, they are the one piloting their affairs. So we must begin to see ourselves as partners in this business. Like, yeah, I also understand that sometimes because of either the sort of management we have or the work landscape, we might not have the opportunity to really do the things we plan to do or want to do. But that still does not stop us from realizing that as HR people, we are business partners. Whatever we do at the end of the day is shaping the workforce to deliver on the vision and mission of the business. There's no two ways about it. There's nothing we can do about it. It is our reality. We are just like a bridge. I understand our predicament of, yes, the employee thinking, oh, you're with management. Management thinking, you're not even thinking about the business, you're thinking about the people. Fortunately, that's what we have to deal with. It is our call. But the truth is, whatever we do, our plans, our actions, whatever we do, the end goal should be to deliver on the vision of the business that we support. Then, forecasting skill gaps. Our role in workforce planning, like I did mention again, is for us to forecast skill gap. When we look at the way things are going, in fact, every HR now should be if you don't already know analytics, it's time you get on it. It's time you jump on learning how to do people analytics. I understand that some of us would have learned it because when you learn this data analysis and all these analytical tools, so there's a use case situation. Sometimes you're not even able to use it. But please, whether you are using it or not, learn it, practice it. There's a tendency for us to feel rustic, when we don't put the things to use. But please, learn it such that when you need it, all you need is maybe a 1 week refresher. You're not a total novice to it. You have an idea of what it is and you are able to utilize it. So we must, if you don't love data and you're in HR, you have to go and fall in love with data. That's just the truth. Because we must be able to make data-driven decisions, so that we're able to, because our role is advisory. Anyhow we want to do it. Our role as HR people is advisory, to advise businesses on what to do, how to do it. Sometimes we advise, they take it, sometimes they don't. But we must know that our role first is advisory. So we should be able to forecast skill gaps using analytics. So we're able to analyze workforce trends, we're able to analyze attrition, we're able to analyze where the future capability gap may exist. Once we're able to analyze this, we're able to plan our workforce so we can proactively plan for reskilling and our reskilling and hiring strategies. Because if we're not able to review or forecast the gaps that we have in our workforce, how do we now know when we need to reskill? How do we now know the people that need to upskill? There's a new word I'm also liking, cross-skilling, or how do we plan our hiring strategies? So it is very important, our role in strategic workforce planning is for us to be able to forecast skill gaps using analytics. 3, we should be able to build agile talent pipeline. So instead of reacting to vacancies, as HR people, we should build flexible pipelines of ready talent such that if there's a gap now, we should be able to pull from our pipeline and just as a matter of 1 or 2 days, reach out and be able to fill especially critical roles. Again, I would use my experience in tech. So there are some roles that if somebody is off the desk like right now, your organization is going to get into problem. So imagine if you don't have a pipeline or you don't have a plan of, you don't have an agile plan of quickly covering up those roles, there's going to be a problem and the business is going to experience downtime and your customers, you don't want to. In fact, we had one experience that receiving, when you see your phone ringing, you know that there's a problem. So because you want to avoid those kind of things, that's why you should build an agile talent pipeline. That's going to help you create resilience. It will help you reduce time to hire. It will ensure that your organization can quickly adapt to change. Because whether we like it or not, change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, the people that have not even shown us signals that they want to leave can just wake up one morning, especially in this jackpot time, and they're like, whoa, I'm tired of this Nigeria, and they want to jackpot. So it is very, very important that we build agile talent pipeline. Now, for us to foster a culture of continuous learning, that like I said, cannot be overemphasized. We can only stay competitive when our people knows what's trending. We can stay competitive when it's not when people have taken what is trending and ran with it. That our people are now realizing that people are taking this thing that is trending and they've started running with it. When there's continuous learning, we should create an organization that is first to know what's trending. So that it's not when people have hit the ground running, that's when we are going to come and start crawling. And how do we do this? We can encourage a learning culture through mentorship, digital learning, growth focus, performance management, which helps to retain top talent and keep skill relevant. Now, performance management. Sometimes we need to avoid the pitfall of running performance management as if is a punitive. We need to avoid that pitfall of running performance management as if it's just to check those that are productive. When we run our performance management again, I like the word agile, I use the lot, should be agile, constantly going with the way things are going. When we are doing performance management, we should have a learning culture embedded in it. We should be doing performance management for us to identify skill gaps, for us to see those that need to upskill. Sometimes some people are even more skilled, so we can have cross-skilling, woven into our performance management. So that's with our role in creating a strategic workforce. So at the end of the day, all this that we have been saying is for us to be able to create a flexible and magnetic workforce. So I'm going to ask, if you look at the way you operate now, is there any of your operation that you think can be automated? Does anybody want to share? If not already automated, what's one task in your organization do you think can be automated? Like I said, we're having a conversation. I don't want to be the only one talking. Even though all of us cannot unmute and talk, at least let me be reading what you are saying in the chat. Yes, Omoba said we have to be ready as HR professionals. Yes. Oh, we become dinosaurs. Yes. And come to think of it, I was telling my son that dinosaurs seem to have extincted, but we still talk about them. I don't think there's any child that doesn't know dinosaurs. Anyway, that is by the way. Yes, yes. Develop micro trainings, coachings of between 10 to 15 minutes for the most, for the front lines on topic that build their behavior and relevant technical skill. That's a nice one. That's a nice one. That's a nice. Yes, exactly. Stella, thank you. Yeah, Bukola Messi says sales processes can be automated. Yes, so that when customers reach you, you don't have to be there to respond to them. Your response is automated. They can some things that does not require human effort on the go, but at the end of the day, human effort will be involved. You know. Yes, that's very correct. Thank you, Bukola Messi. Okay, so yes, does anyone say what they think can be automated in their workplace? Okay, so when we're talking about creating, I missed one. Let me see. Yes, payrolls. Agboke Agboge Kingsley. I'm sorry if I don't get that name correctly. Payrolls can be automated. Very correct. Very correct. Thank you. Okay, so in creating flexible and magnetic workforce, many roles are becoming disaggregated and fluid. Like there are some roles that work is increasingly becoming defined in terms of skills, not in terms of, especially if you work for an organization that believes that people must come to work and sit on their desk. Like I used to tell one of my MDs, okay, you don't want people to be flexible. You 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 don't want our organization to be flexible. But do you know that these same people you don't want to do gigs will sit in your office on your desk doing your 8 to 5 for using your resources to do their side gigs or their other things that you don't want them to attend to. Forget that there are applications in place to monitor people and watch people. But the reality is roles are becoming fluid. So work is increasingly being defined in terms of skill. Can you deliver? For example, I can have somebody come to work from 8 to 5 and will not achieve results. But there's somebody that has skill to deliver this thing between 10 to 12. So at the end of the day, it's about productivity and result. You know, so for us to create a flexible and magnetic workforce, the workforce dynamics is changing. The accelerating pace of technology change is widening gaps. Is making skills even more quick to develop. There are things that you don't know how to do it. Get on YouTube, bam, you don't have the skill. But the way technology has so changed and widening the skill gap is such that some skills are quick to develop, you know. So to survive and deliver on strategic objectives, all organizations needs to reskill, cross-skill, and upskill significant portion of their workforce over the next 10 years. Because we're talking about future of work, we're talking about how things are evolving. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 10 years. So we have to constantly, when you think you are reskilling, oh, this skill is outdated, I need to reskill. Before you finish reskilling, there's another skill to be learned. When you say you're upskilling, okay, I learned this skill, maybe like an OS version, let's say, for example, Windows 10. Before we finish, we have not even finished mastering Windows 10. For Christ's sake, 11 is here. We have not finished upskilling to Windows 10. Windows 11 is here. So we must continuously create a workforce that is flexible and magnetic, like I said, so that a significant portion of our workforce is ready to take on the challenge of the next 10 years. Not if we pass 2025 into maybe 2027 our people are already obsolete. No, we should have a workforce that is ready to take on the challenge of minimum the next 10 years, no matter what is evolving, no matter what is changing, no matter what is growing. And that's why I'm emphasizing. I actually added cross-skilling because I've had to look at some skills and I've realized that, oh, we're talking about reskilling, okay, for those that didn't have the skill, or for those that need to learn new skill for us to deliver on our job. We're talking about upskilling for those that already have the skill and probably need to update the skill to the version that we are now, because the skill of 2020, 2020, some of them are outdated, right? But cross-skilling is something we're not paying attention to because there are some skills that, are interwoven, So the whole essence, the whole long and short of the story is when we do these things, we're able to create a workforce that is flexible, magnetic in terms of we can catch anything that comes. Let it come, like whatever new thing is coming. Our people are ready to latch on it and move, Okay, so like I've spoken about this, reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling is a new talent strategy. Now, what that does for us is it future-proofs our workforce through continuous transformation that is going to happen. It involves reskilling, so we equip our employees to shift into the new roles as business needs evolve. That's what I meant by, okay, there might be a skill that was useful, but for Christ's sake, business needs evolves as the society is evolving, as the world is changing, the business needs are changing. So there are skills that we would need to reskill, so that we can deliver, so that we can fit into the now of work. Because as much as we're talking about the future of, we must also pay attention to the now of work. So the skill we need now, we didn't need it yesterday. So what we're talking about future is the skills we need now, we didn't need them yesterday, or they were not important yesterday, but they're important now, and they're useful to us now. Which is why we must now look at the ones that will be important to us in the future that we are not already using, but that we can start practicing now. So while we talk about the future of work, we must also pay attention to the now of work. Now, upskilling is to deepen current capabilities to match advancing technologies and processes. That's what I mean by we must, while we're talking about now of work, skilling, we must be able to look at the future of work. Cross-skilling is to broaden the skill set across functions to build flexible, agile teams. So, for example, somebody's in sales. The person can also have skills in, okay, let's say somebody is in customer service. The person can have skills in finance, such that if you need to quickly move and solve a problem in finance, your customer service person should be able to, because there's a cross-skilling. Cross-skilling basically means that we're not relying on one skill. We should plan our workforce in such a way that we are able to identify those that have multiple skills. Somebody like me, I'm a multi-potentialist. Like, I learn any skill that comes my way. Like, I can do a lot, So there are people like that. And even if there are no people like that within our organization, we must encourage a culture of cross-skilling so that you should, yes, there are people that would be probably security guards. It happens in the banks. Security guards, some people will enter as security guards. And before you know it, they enter as teller, before you know it, they are in operations. There are some people that we can cross like that. We have to pay attention to those kind of people in our workforce planning. Now, why these three skills are important? Why they are important talent strategy? Yes, again, I like referring to my experiences. I've had a situation where I have moved somebody from a knock. Knock is like customer service, some tech organization, into server administration. And that's because the person has the knowledge. So we're able to cross and quickly move because there was a gap there that we need to quickly fill. So what this does for us in our talent strategy is it helps us to remain future ready and adaptable. We're able to align business strategy faster and deliver results quicker without having to stall or without having to be, laid back or held back because somebody has hesitated or something has happened, something like that. So that's that. Oh, Stella, sorry, I missed it. I'm going to read something. Also, micromanaging has been turned into presenteeism. Yes, employees are seen at work yet aren't contributing in the productivity of the organization. Yeah. Some job roles don't require 9 to 5. Yeah, we're going to get there. Yeah, exactly. Some job roles actually don't require 9 to 5. So we need to start looking at our workforce planning. We need to start looking at how we plan our workforce so that we're able to identify roles. There's some roles that actually can be contracts, but that are working full time. So those are the things we need to begin to pay attention to, especially with the current gig economy, because the gig economy cannot be ignored, cannot be overlooked. It has come to stay, and it is even getting stronger and better. There are people that will be willing in in the next in the nearest future. It's even already happening. There are people that will not do 9 to 5. They just work on contract basis, you know. So preparing the workforce for the future of work. What are we expected to do? How do we prepare our workforce for the future of work? So if we must navigate critical challenges in today's complex business environment, we must build a future-ready workforce. This is what strategic workforce planning provides us with. It provides us with the insight needed to overcome the obstacles and achieve success. So here are some of the key challenges that we might have to be dealing with or we might be preparing for and looking at how to solve while we prepare our workforce for for the future. So we must be able to balance technology and human capital. We must be able to address future skill gaps, I've said that before. Agility in the face of disruption, very critical. So how do we balance technology and human capital? We must leverage digital tools and automation without losing a human touch. The challenge lies in integrating AI, data analytics, and automation in ways that enhance rather than replace the employee's contribution while keeping workforce engaged and well-being at the center. We're talking about automation, we're talking about AI, but it is easy for us to lose human touch if we don't pay attention to it. So when we're talking about automation or we're talking about AI, we must also be intentional about ensuring that we don't lose human touch. Like I was in a group some time ago and there was this conversation around AI taking over our jobs. AI is already doing recruitment, AI is already doing CV reviews, AI, and a lot of us that have embraced AI. If you have not embraced AI and you're on this call, please embrace it. So the reality is AI, it depends on if you have decided not to use it for your good. AI will only replace you if you don't know how to use it. So if you know how to use AI, AI should be your executive assistant. You should give AI instructions. Those are topics for another day. I'm sure one of my colleagues has also talked about AI in HR. So while we're advocating, because if you don't use AI, those that are using AI will move fast. They will take over the market. Those that are doing data analytics, they will move fast. Those that are doing automation, they will deliver results faster than. So it's not a function of whether you like it or not. It's a function of learning to adapt because it is the new normal. It is a function of learning to use them. So it is when you don't know how to use them, that is when they're going to replace you. But we are saying, even in using AI, let's not remove the human touch. If we're advocating for AI automation, we're not saying automate everything. Even at the core of automation. It will still be automated by a human being. So we should build our organization in such a way that things that can run on automation will run on automation, but we must not throw away empathy and critical thinking. That was why when I started, I asked what skills we think will not be old-fashioned, that was coming somewhere. As much as we're talking about technology, we're talking about the noun of work, we should realize that we cannot remove human beings from the equation. Who is going to do the automation? Who is going to give AI the instruction? It's still the human beings. But what we are saying is we must be able to balance it. We must be able to equip our people with the knowledge and the skill required to use these tools, not that these tools are replacing them. Again, at the core of it is education, because people will always be resistant to change. There's always resistance to change because we don't know what to expect, because we like our comfort zone, because we're used to what we know, you know. So we must be at the core of enlightening our people, educating our people, and letting them know the use and the importance of these things. We must also create an environment where the tools are there for them to use, but they must also realize that we're not removing the human element. So that is how we balance technology and human capital. Addressing future skill gaps. When we think we need this skill now, like I said, before we finish talking about it, there's a new skill evolving. So we must constantly address future gaps. The rapid changes in technology and business model create constant demands for new skills. When we think, oh, this is the skill we need to deliver now, before we finish talking about, there are new skills evolving, there are new skills coming up, you know, we must be ready. Our company, we must anticipate future competencies such as digital literacy, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. It's as if people saw my slide when you were answering. When I was asking skills, I will not be old-fashioned. It's as if people saw my slide. You know, while we're investing in continuous learning, reskilling and cross-skilling programs to avoid workforce obsolescence, it's very, very, very important. That is how we prepare for the future of work. So another thing, like I did mention, if you don't like data as HR, please, it's time you go and start romancing data. I don't know, you just have to find that love wherever you can find it. Because we're getting to the point where, as HR, if you are not able to make data-driven decisions, I don't want to use the word irrelevant. Business you will not be able to speak the language of the business. Basically, if you cannot, if you're coming to tell management that, for example, there's this skill that you need in your workforce to build because there's a reason for you to upskill or probably cross-skill, whatever the case may be, and you just come and you just say it. Come on. But when you come and you approach management with data, they look at the data, it's able to guide their decision. Gone are the days where they just think, oh, we don't make money in HR, so why should they invest in HR? Not knowing that we're actually the core, because like I will always say, we manage the critical aspect of the business. So don't tell me I am not making money. I'm making the people, I'm coordinating, like I am managing the money machine of the business. But again, I won't blame them. That's because in the past, HR was focused on labor. We just feel we don't need it. But now we have to wake up to the reality of our time. We must be able to take data-driven, we must approach HR with data-driven mindset, such that when we are talking, when we are making a case, when we are saying this is what we need to plan our work for, we are giving management data to take their decision. So how do we become data-driven HR? What are the how do we approach data as HR? We use people analytics to forecast attrition, reskilling needs. Like I mentioned, we're able to anticipate turnover risk and plan proactive talent strategies. So if we use data properly, we would be able to know that, for example, a particular department or a particular unit in our organization, we might be having turnover there soon. If we use data well, we will know that it's just like those in the medical field. I'm sure the HR there would have used data analytics to know that at certain time, their doctors will all jackpot. That's because they are studying the trend, the global trend. They are studying where their skills are needed. So, unfortunately, the Nigerian economy might not help our decision, but we would be able to prepare and know that these our doctors can jackpot, these our nurses can jackpot, these our tech guys can jackpot anytime. Imagine if we are not using people analytics, or we don't know how to use people analytics, and you wake up one day and probably you work in a bank. I think it happened one time, one bank. The whole tech department, everybody will jackpot at the same time, and there's going to be downtime, and your customers will wake up and everybody's in front of your bank pulling down the roof. So why we must also be open to data-driven approaches is to help us map skills across the workforce. It will help us to build real-time skill inventories and close capability gaps. Another thing is to benchmark our training ROI. So we should be able to tell management this is the return on investment if we do this training. And it will also help us to measure the performance impact. So we're able to measure learning outcomes against business performance. Okay, when we invested this was how the business performed. When we invested ABC, the business performed XYZ. So that's why it is very important that we approach our role as HR people with data-driven mindset. So again, agility in the face of disruption. The global crisis is shifting market. It is evolving customer demand. What your customer used to demand before is not what your customer will be demanding now. Another example will be those in the HMO industry. Prior to now, if you want to sell HMO to me, I'll just buy, just pay for your packages and all that. But with the demand, because at the end of the day, in HR, another thing is the employees are our customer. And if our customers are happy, we'll be happy and we'll achieve results. So somebody like me, I could go one whole year and not use my HMO. Then, because of the business and market and everything is evolving and everything is changing, we now have to look at, if you're selling HMO to me, what is the package? For example, can my people use your HMO because I'm at the core of well-being? Can my people use their HMO package either as gym subscriptions, something that they're not necessarily going to the clinic, but it is enhancing their well-being? That's a shift. Before now, who would come and be asking that you should give your HMO should have gym packages or should be able to be converted as gym membership, something like that? I'm just using that as an example. So it's a customer demand that has shifted. So if the people are not ready to be agile, it's a disruption. They will not be able to sustain or remain in business. So it is important that we build a workforce that is flexible, diverse, and able to pivot roles or strategies to ensure resilience in the face of economic, technological, or geopolitical disruption. Okay, so we've been talking. We need to look at the trends that are actually shaping workforce planning. There are trends we cannot ignore, whether we like it or not. Remote or hybrid work models has come to stay. In talent acquisition now, even when we run interviews, you see people negotiate for hybrid or remote model. It's there's not the only thing we can do about it is to accept it and realize that it has come to stay. That is redefining our workforce planning, redefining how we plan workforce. You know, we are redefining performance assessment. We are embedding I&D principles. We are harnessing artificial intelligence and automation, like I've mentioned. Those things are things we didn't need to deal with when we're doing workforce planning, but they have now become a consideration. There are things we must now look at in our workforce planning. There are things we must now pay attention to and incorporate into our workforce planning. So HR as strategic partner, like I mentioned, we're strategic partners, we're partners. How do we guide organizational success? You know, we carry the opportunity to pioneer workforce planning that support both near-term agility or long-term growth. So we're talking about our workforce of now. Our workforce should be in such a way that we're able to also handle long-term growth and handle the future. So the ingredient to leading this evolution includes curiosity, courage, and connection. We must be curious. We must know what's trending. We must know where the workforce, the business landscape is going. We must know what's up, basically. you know, you know, our curiosity will question legacy practices. This is how it is done. There are certain things that this is how it is done, but it should not be done like that. You know, it will help us to envision new workforce models and align them to strategy. When we have the curiosity, okay, for example, you resume somewhere, the city is that something is being done. Well, this is how it's being done. When you're enrolled, you behave like a Roman and you just flow along. I'm not saying be rebellious. I'm not saying don't flow along. But you should be curious enough to know why it was done like that. You should be curious enough to know that what if it could be done this way? And now that takes us to courage. Sometimes some HR people don't have the courage. Even where is what management has decided, you know. I understand job security. HR is also an employee kind of mindset, no problem. But we should have the courage to pilot unconventional planning paradigm shifts. Like we should be able to plan for uncertainties. Okay, there's a paradigm shift. What's going to happen? You know, and the connection through cross-functional collaboration to ensure alignment. So we need curiosity, courage, and connection for us to be able to build a successful organization. Because if we don't have the curiosity to ask why it is being done like that, we would not know how it got to being done like that. And if we don't have the courage to say, oh, this is how it should be done, then we will not be able to connect what should be connected for us to achieve results. And before you know it, we lose our people. So those that are ready, or the people that have had the curiosity, the courage, and the connection that we are shying away from. And that's why it will be easy for people to just come and poach your people. There's some organizations that to poach anybody out of there. I don't know. You must have what you're offering. Do you understand? That's because they have so developed their culture, their workforce, to the point that it's like the size of the shoe is so big that if you want to wear it, your leg has to be big. Or let's come and wear it, let's see if it fits, kind of thing. So all that we have been saying is backed by researches and case studies. Unfortunately, we cannot treat the researches and case studies. So I have just outlined some of them for you. You could look at them at your spare time. So PwC, these are researches to show that planning your workforce strategically and position it for the future pays off eventually. PwC 70% in their research, 74% of CEOs cite skills shortage as key threat. That's because they have done their research, they have used their people analytics, they know that 74% of CEOs, their fear, the threat to their business is that they will have skills shortage. So imagine if you have done this research and you know that this will happen. You can imagine what PwC did. Of course, they planned and prepared for the future of work. McKinsey had 87% of executives face current and potential skill gaps. These are recent researches to show that the future of work is upon us, even while we're talking about the now of work. We must prepare. These are researches to show the reason or the urgency to prepare for the future of work. AT&T invested $1 billion in reskilling program to avoid layoffs. Again, it boils down to data-driven decision. It boils down to people analytics. If they did not utilize data, they would not be able to come up with this result. I just picked a few. There are more. Unilever's flex experience boosted internal mobility by 60%. Again, these are researches to show that future of work cannot be ignored. It cannot be overemphasized. We must be ready to take the future of work. So, actionable steps for HR professionals is one, conduct skill gap analysis. Again, it's taking us back to and romance data. You have to be friendly with data. You must know how to use data, because how do you conduct skill gap analysis when you cannot use data? So we must constantly conduct skill gap analysis, at least annually, for us to know that, okay, in this range of skills, we're going to be having gaps so that we can move fast, invest in digital learning ecosystem. That's why we have LMS learning programs. We must invest in digital learning, micro learning, such that we're able to equip our people to learn on the go. Like I did say, we must encourage the culture of continuous learning. We must promote cross-functional rotations. That's where cross-skilling comes. We must prepare for when there's a gap, because there will always be a gap. There will always be a gap. We cannot force people to stay. We cannot tie people. People will always evolve. Sometimes some people leave an organization not because of money, but because they have evolved beyond the role, or because they have evolved beyond the environment. Something will shift at some point. So we must be ready for cross-functional rotation. We must, actionable step where maybe I'm using must, because I think we must, but we should try to do cross-functional rotation, such that if somebody is not available, God forbid, if somebody drops dead today, work continues. I always tell people, especially when I'm talking about wellness and well-being, it's if we don't pay attention to ourselves. So our workforce, the steps we should take should be such that we promote cross-functional rotation, such that somebody somewhere should be able to stand in at any time should there be any need in the course of our organizational transitioning, growth, existence of whatever. Measure outcomes, productivity, engagement, retention. If we don't measure outcomes, sometimes before people drop their resignation, there's already a mental resignation. Before somebody puts pen to paper or puts hand to keyboard to type a resignation email, the person has already disconnected. So sometimes we are being reactive rather than proactive as HR professionals. So our actionable steps to safeguard the future of work should be to measure outcomes. measure our people's productivity, check engagement, and retention plan. It's not when somebody has left, they're coming to do exit interview. Why don't we do stay interview? Why don't we realize that somebody has disengaged before even resigning? And that's why you see some people will resign, you'll be pursuing them to come and do handover. Somebody did reach out to me one time with a concern that, okay, somebody resigned, and on the last day of work, the person didn't come to work. Now, they are saying they should return the person's salary because the person has not done handover. I'm like, it's a practice that I do. On the last day of work, if the person doesn't come to work in the first place, the person is just one day that is remaining, and you are dragging this person, the person has not done handover, the person, hello. What happened to having a conversation with the person and even reviewing the handover with the person before the last day of work? So those are things we need to start paying attention to and be doing differently. Left to me is because 1 month is, well, if I have my way, if you resign today and you are ready to leave today, like I would let the person go if I was the owner of the business and if I have my way. Why? Because sometimes when you even force people to stay the 1 month, the idea behind it is for them to be able to for business continuity. Do you know that somebody can even sabotage your business in the 1 month that the person is waiting and serving the period? It's not fight, it's an understanding. So I would expect that 1 week to the person's exit, we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Oh, thank you. So how do we move on? For business continuity, either there's somebody that you're running through your handover, or there's somebody that is looking through your handover with you to know where to proceed and how to proceed. Not that on the last day of work, you're chasing somebody for handover and you're telling me you want to withhold the person's salary. That again is because you have not been checking the engagement. I've left organizations that people tomorrow will still reach out to me that how do we do this? But if you have if your organization in the first place did not encourage the connectivity, the person is disengaged and the person will decide to frustrate you. I've heard stories of HR people leave an organization and delete the old data. In fact, not stories, I've resumed somewhere that I didn't meet any HR, whatever. I built the HR from ground up, the HR department. So those are things we need to begin to be intentional about. We need to start preparing for and preparing our organization and getting ready for the future of work. So closing thoughts. Future ready talent is built, not hired. There's no new person you are going to bring that you are going to say, oh, you've brought this person for your future ready talent. No. If talent, yeah, you can bring in talent, right? For the job you need now. Like now, oh, you need this skill, you need these people to come on board and come and deliver now. But future ready talent, you have to build them. You don't hire them. We need to pay attention to that. We need to start being intentional about our people's strategy. HR's role is to integrate strategy, analytics, and learning. Like I said, our role is to integrate strategy. Our role is to deliver on strategy. Our strategy is being delivered. It's our business. And if strategy is going to be delivered, we need to analyze. We need to be sure that strategy is being delivered. In our analysis, we are going to realize that there's learning. There are things to be learned, so that we can upskill for today and secure a competitive tomorrow. We're upskilling for now, because we will talk about now and we'll talk about the future. Yesterday has gone. So we're upskilling for now for a competitive tomorrow. So that's my closing thought for today. And talent is consistently ranked as top 3 priority for CEOs. You can do research on that. Yet many lack confidence in HR's ability to deliver. To drive and facilitate these workforce initiatives, HR must transform itself first. We are talking about transforming workplace, we're talking about workforce planning. We must transform ourselves first. We must look at our practice. We must embrace global best practices. Yes, we know that the business landscape is different, the environment is different, but as much as possible, we must look in the mirror. This is a memo to HR people. We must look in the mirror and transform ourselves first if we are going to transform workforce and achieve results that we so much desire. Okay. So Sheyi Adewala say, Troyan, well done. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so that said, I want to believe that we've had a good evening. And at this point, it's a thank you from me. And if there are any contributions, I like subtractions because there will always be contribution. Please, if there's anything that should be removed, anything that should not have been said, please point it out. I am very, like I always tell people, when we ask people to talk about us, either birthdays or something, they're quick to say the good things about us. They don't want to also don't want to say so that they will not think you're a bad person. Please, so if there's anything that has been said that should not be said, so this is time for addition, subtraction. I'm very, 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 very interested in subtraction. So if there's anything that should not be said, or anything that should be corrected, that's very important for us to do. So at this time is thank you everyone. It's been a nice evening. It's been nice sharing my evening with you. Tomorrow is Monday and work is starting. So doctor, is over to you. I've been talking. If you leave me, I'll
Thank you so
continue.
much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been fantastic, phenomenal. I didn't expect anything less. Ladies and gentlemen, time is fast spent. If you have any compelling question or compelling contributions, maybe one or two, and you have like 15 seconds to indicate. Otherwise, you know, when you are the speaker or the Senate president, you just say the ayes have it. Tomorrow is Monday, man. Ladies and gentlemen, so we'll quickly take Sheyi Adegbola. Sir, you have the floor very quickly, please.
Yeah, I realize that our partitor is very strict. Can we also, as HR, have small sentiment, not also compromising policy?
Irene, you want to quickly respond to that? You need to unmute.
Okay, so if I get you correctly, Mr. Adegbola, you said you realize that I'm very strict, right?
Don't personalize it.
Yes.
Don't let us personalize anything, please.
Because now I cannot respond because I'm trying to understand what it means by strict.
No, as much as I agree with everything you have said, can we also put some face when we are delivering some of this, our work? Can we put like dealing with people, you know, because of the kind of issues around it? That's just it.
Yes, that's why I said we have to be agile, we have to be flexible. If you remember when I was talking, I said we must be people-centric. So we must realize that we're dealing with people. I'm sorry, because of time, we just needed to concentrate and deliver on what we are saying. But the truth of the matter is, I think I did mention, we cannot, especially in my last words, it's because we're not paying attention to people. That's why we don't realize that they've even disengaged before they put pen to paper to resign. So I don't know if that answered your question. Of course, we must pay attention to people. We are building a people-centric organization. So it is very important that we must pay attention to people. I don't know if that answered your question. Stella's hand is raised up. Can we have you quickly?
Thank you so much. We'll take Stella and we call it a wrap. Stella, please.
Just to thank you so much for the presentation, Irene, and to add to the question, the last speaker, I just want to say that she meant there to be fair and firm. That is just the word, fair and firm for HR. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that
Thank you.
clarification.
Yeah, fam, that's it.
Let's unmute and let's thank our facilitator for tonight, Irene Obagu, and tell her to come back quickly. She's only knows like 2 webinars. She
Thank
knows what
you.
I'm
Thank you. Good one.
you for
Thank
the
you,
masterclass,
Irene. Well done.
Irene. Come back with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm only 3 actually, I know.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.